Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max.
Welcome, everyone. We are the Geek Patrol, and our microphones don't have a stun setting. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and Alissa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And speaking of Max, later in the show today, Max wants to talk about another Mac, Fleetwood Mac, right? It's an anniversary of your... What's the anniversary we're marking?
It's the 48th anniversary of the release of the album Rumours, which is one of my favorite albums.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think all of us agree on that. So, I mean, it's not my favorite, but it's a classic, great, all-time great album. So, also steering into geek waters, the Fantastic Four trailer dropped, and who knows what to... I mean, I don't know what to make of it. I guess we're all going to share our thoughts on that. So... but before we get to any of those things, you and Alissa, you and Brandon last night, a couple days ago, Friday night took.
We're still getting our voice back.
Yeah, you guys dove into the wrestling. Well, what did you do?
Okay, so we went to Friday Night SmackDown at the FedEx Forum, and we flew a little we yeeted too close to the sun. We're hurt.
Yeah, you sound pretty bad. It sounds like you were wrestling or something, man. Jeez. Okay.
No. But we were yelling.
I was screaming.
When you do that, you gotta breathe. You gotta use correct.
You do not understand the excitement of sports entertainment, sir.
No, I do.
They just kept coming. It just kept happening.
Alissa, I'm surprised that you're a wrestling fan.
I didn't expect it to happen, but I went over to Brandon's house one weekend for a pay-per-view. I think it was WrestleMania.
It was WrestleMania. It was your first experience was WrestleMania 39.
I saw Cody Rhodes, and I was like, I am in love. I'm in love.
Okay.
Well, I mean, as a sports entertainment spectacular, it's had its highs and its lows. We still fondly remember some of the greats. We talk about wrestlers from the 50s. We will talk about Andre the Giant until movies no longer exist. But I have noticed in the last, I would say 5 years, that the show has really tightened up and has become a bigger spectacular now than I think it's ever been.
Well, one of the things that WWE did that was so different than everything else is during the pandemic, you couldn't have arenas, you couldn't have shows or anything else.
Right.
But, the powers that be over at WWE knew that people still needed entertainment. And, of course, they still needed revenue. So they set up a thing where you could basically buy a digital ticket to a show. And they had a wall of screens. So if you were in there, you actually, while it was airing, people could see the screens in the back as if they were people in the seats. And you're there basically on a Zoom call, and you get to still watch this. These guys are going in, they're going through testing protocols and everything else, so they can get into a ring that has no audience. So there's no cheers, no nothing, none of the spectacular events that you're used to. But they're still getting in there and they're entertaining.
Right.
And during that time, Roman Reigns and Paul Heyman hit Vince and Hunter up with a storyline that would eventually become one of the most cinematic things that's ever occurred in wrestling, and that is the Bloodline story. It's fascinating. I mean, wrestling has always been it's a sports-based medium to progress a story. It's fairy tales. It's
a soap opera.
It's the paragons of Greek Olympus and all this other jazz.
Yeah.
And they have found new ways to connect with the fans because where other things are stagnant, and you've got corporate guys who are like going, you know what? This is what the people want when it's not anything you want. But Hunter, Triple H, Paul Levesque, he was a wrestler beforehand.
Yes, he was.
But he's always had a mindset for the business. And he's creative. He's the chief creative officer now. And he is finding ways to connect with the fans, whether it be through new social media outreach. They've got a show on X called WWE Speed, which is a 3-minute match. You've got 3 minutes to beat your opponent. It is short form. And it's exciting. And they actually filmed one of the episodes while we were there. It was Shotzi and...
I can't remember what the other girl's name was.
But Shotzi's this little...
I was so excited to see her.
Green-haired goth horror psychopath.
Yeah,
And she's so much
cool.
fun to
Well,
watch.
I
She's got so
know
much
why
energy.
Alyssa's all excited. Okay.
Yeah, I was like, and I think that's part of why I got into wrestling too. Is like not just for Cody, but like the outfits are crazy, the stories are crazy, the characters are crazy, like, and the showmanship and like what they're doing in the rings is wild. They're just jumping around when they get the trash cans out and the tables and the ladders.
It is a superhero
crazy.
story where the actors are always doing their own stunts.
Right.
And anybody who goes, oh, you know it's fake, it's like, no, it's choreographed. Because trust me, some of the moves we've seen, I mean, Cody
We've seen
Rhodes
people get hurt.
Rhodes tore his pectoral muscle off of his off the bone. He went out and wrestled with that.
Yeah,
You could
it was
see
just a
the
massive
bruise.
purple. It was horrifying.
And
That's
then,
a good point. Movies are fake. Wrestling is choreographed.
Right.
Yeah.
That's a good way to put it.
it may be scripted. They may know the outcome beforehand, but we, it draws you in because of the story, especially when the story is good. There's some wrestling promotions out there where the story is lacking, but the matches are good. And there's some where
Yeah.
the story is amazing, but the matches are like, I could have fought better with a towel and my dog in the backyard.
Right.
But when it comes down to it, and you've got that perfect mix, and one of the ones one of the characters that's out there right now, main event Jey Uso,
Yeah.
the 2025
Love
Royal
him.
Rumble winner, he is more over than any wrestler I've seen in forever. You may talk about the Hogans and the Andres and,
Right.
and JYD and even Jerry Lawler. But there's a way that Jay connects with the audience that I have never seen before. And I've been watching wrestling since I was a little kid. I mean, I remember Ric Flair walking out with the big gold belt for the first time and looking at my dad and saying, I want that.
Yeah.
And I own one now. And it's got my name on it. But it's... But yeah, so once Jay got the audience going this past Friday, we were yelling with it. And we had these young kids up in the booth with us because we were in the Tourist Memphis booth.
Oh.
A friend of ours, works with them, so we get
Yeah.
our tickets. And there was this energy coming from these kids that I have, just being around them got me more energized
Yeah,
and everything
they were
else.
so fun.
And it was just, you get to watch, people, in their 80s who are just, walking on, barely down to their seats, to these young kids who are just super excited. And it's one of those moments where we can escape.
Pretty cool, man. I wonder if there's ways this could translate into other areas of life. We'll explore that when we come back here on Geek Tank Radio.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. Mr. Spock hates these guys. The Geek Patrol is back.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and Alissa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And I don't know about you guys, but I love those aha moments where even at our age, you're learning something new. And Brandon, you said something that really triggered a line of thought with me, and maybe it explains why wrestling is so popular. We've been talking about wrestling this morning, and you said there's a big difference between fake and choreographed.
Right.
People say wrestling is fake. Well, to the degree that it's orchestrated, maybe it is fake, but these guys are really doing this. They're really doing these stunts, and they're performing, and they're in front of how many thousands of people doing this live in one take, know?
Yeah.
So I don't know, man. It seems like there's an element here that I've missed because I don't really follow wrestling.
Right.
And I've only ever seen it on TV. I've never seen it in person. I'm guessing there's a huge dynamic that's different, right, Alissa, when you're in person?
Yeah.
I mean,
I think you get a little more energy when you're in person, but it is a little different when you're not as close as the cameras are. So when you're watching it at home, you feel a little closer to them fighting, which is really fun. But it's just different to be there in person. You get way more energy. You get to see what's happening in the commercial breaks, so you don't miss any of the fight, which is cool.
yeah. I don't know, man.
And then, of course, those little nuances that, happen strictly because you're there. They like to do their own versions of the kiss cams where they'll go through and they'll catch the signs of the night. Or they did a thing last night, or what was that, Friday?
Yeah, Friday.
Okay. It's been a long weekend, guys. But they did a thing the other night where they wanted you to do your best Undertaker face, which is basically rolling your eyes back in your head, sticking your tongue out, and doing the slit throat thing with your thumb across your neck, which is something that the Taker's done forever. So you get to see all these kids doing it, and there's just something about that where you just it energizes you more and more. And again, It's always great when you run into somebody you know who you didn't even realize was a wrestling fan.
Oh, there you go.
And then, of course, we got to see Jerry.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. I'd love to point out, though, it seems like the modern wrestling, and I'm going to, within the last 20 years, is much more of a stepping stone for some of the better physical actors and actresses we have now. Because let's face it, all right, we all know it's choreographed. We all know nobody could withstand that for real and get up and go do it again next week. They'd be in the hospital for weeks.
Kevin's ladder match with Cody.
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
So we all know it's choreographed, but there is a level of showmanship, a level of acting and physicality that they bring to other venues.
Yeah.
Because how many have crossed over? I mean, there are quite a few that are still wrestling and have started showing up in the MCU or Star Trek.
There's a handful of them that need to, give up the wrestling and go full time at the, with the Hollywood thing. But that's only because they're getting old, and I'm scared John Cena's going to break himself.
Yeah. Poor guy.
He's going to break himself.
Well,
oh my gosh!
This year is his farewell tour. He just did his final Royal Rumble. His final Elimination Chamber is coming up at the 1st of March. His final WrestleMania is in April. Wow. At the end of 2025, his plan is to hang up the jorts and not get in the ring anymore.
The jorts.
Retiring the jorts.
Oh, yeah.
I just wonder if these guys, okay, we've seen them go into movies. I mean, to me, this is actually more like theater.
Oh, yeah.
Have any of them gone that route? Or
yeah, I mean, there's always some that have, I think Batista was in a play. But Dave Batista, when you saw him wrestling, you didn't think of him as being anything remotely. It's like, okay, he's just. But you look at what he's done and his body of work outside of the WWE, the stuff that he's done in Hollywood, and you're like, all right, he's done everything from these kids, a kids movie where he was basically a spy for a little child, basically her bodyguard, and that movie is cute as can be, to things like Knock at the Door and he shows up in places you don't expect.
Yeah.
He's got a movie coming out soon with him and Mila Jovovich, and I can't think of the name right now, but it looks phenomenal. And I'm sitting there going, I remember when people made fun of you because you wore blue trunks to the ring. They called you Blue Tista.
So don't underestimate the wrestlers out there. Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, when it comes down to it, their training is not just to be able to bounce off a mat or the ropes or, fall from a ladder through 3 tables and get up. They also they're telling you a story, and they've got to have the marks fully down.
Yeah.
The versatility of a wrestler reminds me of the versatility of a musician, how certain musicians can kind of really make it in Hollywood. And so what they need, people in Hollywood might kind of take from these particular professions, is the fact that you are able to function well live and with spontaneity.
Yeah.
Yeah, I completely agree with you, Max, because there's something that both wrestlers and musicians have that used to be a commonplace in Hollywood. Your actors that were, in the golden era of Hollywood, they were trained in everything.
Yeah.
They could pratfall, they could do comedy, they could do drama, they knew how to sing, they could dance. You had to know it all for you to become a star. Now you just have to have a pretty face and be able to remember lines, and half the time you don't even have to be able to remember lines.
Right? Yeah.
That's a good point, man. Yeah, that's true. You had to be a well-rounded performer. So.
Gene Kelly.
Yeah, exactly. But it's interesting connecting it with music too, because I'm thinking of some of the bands that I've seen that, man, they really. I mean, I know U2 is, we're oversaturated with U2, but I'm sorry, even back in the '80s, they know how to connect with their audience. On the flip side, I went and saw the Cars in concert once, and it was the most boring concert I ever saw. They never talked to the audience. They barely moved. They had no performance skills at all. They sounded good.
They came out to their mark. They played their instrument. They sang their songs.
Yeah.
They did their thing, and then they left the stage.
And yet, these wrestlers, I mean, Alissa, you guys are up in the stands, and they got to connect. They're way over there, 100 yards away, and they got to connect with
and
you.
And they do. They certainly do.
Yeah, pretty cool. So, all right, well, and it seems like the future of wrestling is just going to keep growing, right? It sounds like are we in a golden age?
Oh, yeah.
I think so, for sure.
Okay, all right.
It's currently being referred to as the Netflix era.
The Netflix era?
Because it is the first, WWE Raw is the first every week streamed live show on Netflix.
Oh, okay. All right, cool. All right, well, there we go. Wrestling, the wrestling heyday. But when we come back, Max wants to talk about an anniversary for Fleetwood Mac.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
Okay, and welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and Alissa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And we're celebrating a belated anniversary, right, Max? And boy, you really loved it. You know, off the air and just when I see you out in the world, you talk about this album quite a bit. I mean, it's really important to you, isn't it?
Well, the thing is it's one of those few albums other than like Joshua Tree where almost all the songs on there are just consistently a banger.
Yeah.
It's just like it was very well crafted. And the thing that kind of speaks to me more about Rumours is also, well, the rumors around it, the whole drama behind it. And the reason it speaks to me is because I love the idea of harnessing the raw power of tension.
Well, that's what it was all about, right? The Rumours album released February 4th, 1977. Alan and I remember it, growing up with it. Can I just say one thing, Max, before you jump into your thing?
I actually still have
Alan
the
was already
original
grown.
album.
I'm sure he does. You know what's interesting to me, Max, is because back in the day, it's just an album came out, they played it on the radio, and the average person like us may not have known all the backstory and everything. So to me, it was just an album, whatever, with good songs. But after I've gotten talking to you about it, it gave me a renewed interest in the album just when you learn the history and what was going on.
Well,
So-
the band was literally falling apart, and this was the main common glue, I mean, other than the cocaine, that kind of kept the band through.
Jeez. Okay.
That kept the band through. Like, I like the idea of they were able to put their personal life, you know, like behind them in order to kind of work together professionally. And so imagine 5 people sitting in a cramped studio who really wanted to kill each other, and they made music together.
I'm thinking of that right now.
Hey.
That's
Well,
actually pretty good.
It's true. I mean, they harnessed that tension and made something really, really great. I wonder what that looked like, though. The writing sessions and the, you know.
What it smelled like.
Well, I'm just thinking. I mean, some of those songs are about, okay, you broke my heart. You're a rotten person. I don't want to be around you anymore. And
I'm
let's
having
get up
fun
and
with this
perform this
affair.
together. Yeah, I
Hey.
mean, a lot of the lyrics and a lot of what these songs are about are not. It's like opening a scab every day. You know, it's
My
like,
mom listened to Dreams while I was in the womb, so you know, I kind of grew up with it myself.
But Max, you really, you've always been fascinated with this album.
I mean,
so.
I literally did like a whole thing about the origins of the chain itself, which is one of their most iconic songs from the Rumours album.
So what? Okay. So what are some little tidbits you can give us about this album?
For example, like with the chain, it was one of the longest. It took the longest of the songs to produce. It took about a year. They couldn't quite find that sound until Mick Fleetwood broke out a dobro and created those. And Lindsey Buckingham kind of helped create that dun da da dun da 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 dun dun. That kind of brought the 2 parts of the halves of the song together. And so, but it's the only song on the album where all of the people actually have like a credit to it.
Oh, that's
like
neat.
a writing
They all
credit.
contributed.
Yeah, the chain. It's kind of a metaphor, because you could say, with the chain. And then there's other songs, for example, or just a whole album itself. It couldn't be made anymore because of how ridiculous the price tag was on it. It was about $4.85 million in today's money.
Really?
Yep.
Why is that? Studio time and
Drugs.
Drugs.
so they count that into the
Yes.
bottom line.
That is, here's the
It
thing.
was
Jeff.
the
Gosh.
70s, dude.
when you need to inspire
Operating costs.
when you need to inspire, there's a nice white powdery muse that they found in nice little
Gosh.
baggies.
Yeah.
They actually pulled like a prank involving that. There was the producer of like at the studio himself like switched it out with talcum powder, the bag, and then when they were asking for another hit, he tipped the bag over and everyone got mad, and then they realized what
Gosh.
they even had.
Jeez. Okay. That's nice. So, hey, I got a question though. This is just sort of for the panel.
Yeah.
Well, first of all, Max, did Mick Fleetwood sing also?
I believe so.
Okay, so I
Did
wonder.
he sing? Yes.
Okay, well, I'm just asking. I
My
don't
God.
remember. I knew. Okay, see, here's the thing.
The best Fleetwood Mac songs have female vocalists.
Well, I'm
I'll
just
always,
saying.
Yeah.
I will stand by that. I will die
That's
on
true.
that hill.
I don't disagree with you. Although I think I think the chain. I mean, is an example that if everybody contributes, it's pretty impressive too. But my question is, do you think the nature of all this tension was from the fact that you basically had 5 very strong musicians with a very strong voice and a very strong sensibility? Like, in other words, there was too many captains on the ship, maybe. Do you think that could create tension? Or
Well, that was a common cause throughout all of music history.
Beatles.
I mean, the Beatles, exactly.
Well, you know,
You had 4 people that could sing on that band.
well,
I mean,
you
The
had
Eagles.
well,
Yeah.
but but you just had different tracks that different people wanted to go down. We can pick another classic. We can pick on Prince's "Purple Rain,"
No, we can't. That's
where
That
they
is
even in
untouchable.
the movie
it
picked
is
on.
untouchable.
Yeah, you'll get over it. Where even in the movie they pointed out that different people in the band had different takes on the music they wanted to do, and you can pick on Genesis back when Peter Gabriel split off and.
Yeah.
Then Phil Collins went on his own, and so welcome to these bands that mix. Some have the chemistry and stay together forever.
Like you two.
yeah. I don't know that many that do stay together.
Pick on the
honestly.
Rolling Stones.
Rush.
Good Lord,
Look,
how
the
long
Rolling
has Rolling
Stones,
Stones been
the
together?
Rolling Stones have stayed together because no one else will put up with their crap.
Yeah, but Max, Rush.
It's part of the chemistry.
Rush is a perfect example of the flip side. Everybody stays in their lane. Nobody steps on anybody's toes in Rush. Of course, there's only 3 guys, but that's an
Well, it's-
example of why.
It's the
Same
same
with Kiss, probably.
Well, no. There's
no.
there's a lot of turmoil in Kiss, and it's more because Gene was always very I mean, he has a sex addiction, but his mindset was always on the business.
No kidding.
Peter and Ace was on the partying, and the
Oh, that's a
drugs
good
led
point.
too much. And if you notice, Paul Stanley and Gene Simmons were there through the whole thing, but the other 2 rotated out. Eric Carr will always be my favorite drummer for Kiss. He died of cancer.
Oh, yeah,
But
that's right.
It's like he was the fox.
Right.
Now, the one thing is, though, when you look at Fleetwood Mac, they, even with all of the tension and all of the things, they came up with basically universal themes,
Yeah.
and the chemistry carries the music, so that's still relevant today.
I'd
Yeah.
like to end with a quote, actually, because of the fact that it was asked for preservation in the Library of Congress. They said, the group had a sense that the songs were so strong, they not only endured, they prevailed.
Boom.
I like it.
You're listening to Geek Tank Radio on 98.1 The Max. The Geek Patrol is back.
People of Earth, I am Lur, conqueror of your planet. Q screams. You will now remove your skulls and play dodgeball with them for my amusement.
And welcome back to Geek Tank Radio, everybody. I'm Joe Thorderson here with my friends Brandon Olmstead and Alan Gilbreth and Alissa Diggs and our buddy Max over there behind the glass. And if you're just tuning in, we've talked about quite a few things. So we talked about the resurgence of wrestling. Max was celebrating the anniversary of the release of the Rumours album. And real quick before we move on, I just want to say, if you never took the trouble to learn the history of the Rumours album, just jump on YouTube, and it's really fascinating. It's really interesting how they harnessed tension and sadness and misery and drugs and made one of the most classic albums of all time, right, Max? I'm not recommending that you go do that, but it's just it's the way life is. So hey, but guys, the
Best
shifting
art
gears
comes from tragedy.
yes, if you have tragedy in your life, harness it, you might make a timeless piece of art. So now I don't know if this is going to be a timeless piece of art, but a Fantastic Four trailer just dropped. I'll just say this, I don't know whether I was impressed or not, at least it looked different. Okay, I mean, I have a pretty low bar these days for superhero movies, especially Marvel movies. So I'm like, okay, it's different.
I'm gonna be completely honest with you here, Joe.
Okay.
It's exactly what they said they were going to give us. It full on grabs the attention of that nouveau futuristic diesel punk feel.
Yeah.
And honestly, out of all the trailers that dropped this week, I figured you'd want to go with the Jurassic Park one instead of the Fantastic Four one. But I think we can get some mileage out
No,
of
I
it.
think we can hit on that too. Well, if we have time, but
No, because we talked about wrestling way too long, and I will take the blame for that.
well, the
I
Fantastic.
think Ben Grimm would be good at wrestling.
What I don't get is they spent. I didn't clock it, but they spent an inordinate amount of time with Ben Grimm in a kitchen with a really boring. I'm like, okay, and don't look at me that way,
Was
Alan.
only
I know
boring to you.
I thought it was cute.
I was going to say,
it was too long. It should have been 3 seconds
No,
instead of
no,
It's
Joe. It's called
literally-
exposition.
it's literally
at a trailer. I mean,
All right,
trailer's supposed to be boom, 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 boom.
No,
boom,
it's
you know,
not.
it's
Where,
like-
where the hell have you been the past 10 years? Trailers are like long.
he's still
and
at
drawn out.
Gryffindor,
Well,
blowing stuff up.
Go
I
ahead.
also liked that it didn't give away too much of the plot to me.
Thank you.
Because every time I see trailers recently, it's like, oh, that's the whole movie.
Oh, look.
Awesome.
Yeah, that's
I-
true.
Captain America and Red Hulk are fighting. You didn't ever have to tell anybody Red Hulk was going to be in Brave New World.
Yeah, why not make that a surprise?
He's only
Yeah.
going to be the last 10 minutes. Don't act like it's going to be half the movie.
Actually, I think it's going to be about 10 minutes, about 2/3 of the way through, and then you ain't got nothing else to do with it.
Yeah.
Well, all right, let's take a look at what they've done in the last 5 years and look at this trailer. This trailer looks nothing like a trailer they've released in 5 years.
Yeah, it doesn't even have the same filters. It's like
Yeah.
This looks like a fun Marvel movie. When was the last time we had one of them?
It looks, well,
feels
and it also isn't going to
Fresh.
retread.
Right.
We
It's
hope.
got a different feel. No, because even in the trailer, he makes a point of saying,
Yeah, she's explaining it all
last
already.
time we went into space, we wound up with powers.
Yeah.
Now we're going to go in space again,
Yeah.
which means now we know how they're going to get to the MCU.
okay.
That is massive foreshadowing, and anybody that doesn't see why that phrase is in the trailer,
Yeah.
because we also got to see the back of Galactus's head, and you know what? It looks like Galactus's head. He doesn't look like, oh, look, he's a thunderstorm.
Yeah.
Well, I was talking to Brandon the other day about this, and this is just my opinion, and maybe, you're free to disagree, but I've always felt like the only people with three-dimensional personalities in the Fantastic Four is Ben Grimm and Johnny Storm. I always feel like they're too, I don't know, Sue Storm, I don't think they give her enough. She's too squeaky clean, in my opinion.
She's mom.
And don't make
I
that
know,
see,
this is like groundbreaking.
I'm
to
talking
me.
movies, Brandon. I'm not
I am-
talking
I am
about
too- I am
comics.
too.
Okay.
All right. Did you?
I
know,
never
did,
see her in-
Did you not watch Rise of the Silver Surfer?
If I
when
did,
we
I
when
don't
we actually
remember.
got to
Yeah.
see Jessica Alba as the Invisible Woman pushing her powers to the limits.
Mm-hmm.
I guess I forgot
Jessica
that movie.
Alba's
yeah.
Sue Storm was not this squeaky clean, happy, good girl. Hell, she's cheating on her boyfriend when she hooks back up with Reed.
Oh, I didn't know.
wow.
See, I don't even remember that movie.
mean-
So
And
okay.
at least it's not as creepy as the whole age discrepancy in the original Fantastic Four movie, where like Sue's this teenager and Reed Richards is like this adult.
Oh yeah. that's-
Again,
yeah.
Old guy?
what are we talking about? In the first Fantastic Four movie from Fox, she's already a doctor.
Okay. I don't know. Maybe.
Okay, I need you and Max to take a time out, go watch these movies. We'll be back and talk about Fantastic
I was
Four.
like, they saw
again.
alternate universe
I'm-
Fantastic Four movies.
I'm thinking the whole, Mandela effect is having some sort
Well,
of thing
maybe
here.
that's just shows. It shows how much it registers. Like I remember things that Ben Grimm does, and I remember Johnny Storm. I don't remember a whole lot, and I've never liked Reed Richards. I always thought he was kind of a.
He's
I
a
don't know.
pompous ass.
He's a jerk. Yeah, he's not really. I don't know, that likable to me, but
He was never designed to be likable. He
To
was
me, this-
designed to be the patriarch of the family and the smartest man alive in the 60s.
And he didn't
Reed
be doing that.
Richards was, all right, your buddy Stan Lee that you love so much.
I don't.
He was the
Not anymore.
two-finger salute up the nose of Marvel Comics because he wrote the Fantastic Four to get fired. And
Yeah.
it didn't.
I always
he didn't
think-
get fired. He wound up owning the place.
You triggered
So,
me because I have a totally different opinion about Stanley now that I've learned more history. Jack Kirby, I would say, is more, whatever. We'll get into that conversation in the future. But
Well, I'm just happy it's a different looking trailer.
Exactly.
With
Yeah.
an option to get us back to an MCU on track.
I think the saving grace here, and maybe the unexpected little thing that might give this movie a boost, is that it's set in an alternate early 1960s. I mean, we're seeing robots. Maybe we'll see a little bit of, like you said, the diesel punk thing, and so
I mean, it's Herbie and
Or
and
cyberpunk
Ben,
or
so
whatever,
We're gonna get
so-
to see the way that they argued. because Herbie was created for the cartoons because they were afraid that children would try and light themselves on fire, which is why Johnny Storm was not in that cartoon.
Really?
The
That's
Fantastic Four
so
cartoon from back
interesting.
in, what was it, the 70s?
Early
Yeah.
70s.
And it was Reed Richards, the Invisible Woman, the Invisible Girl,
Yeah.
the Thing, and Herbie the robot.
Well,
Honestly, that's so fair. Kids are not
Dumb.
the smartest.
you know what? The on the upside though, I know all of us are going to go see the movie. So MCU, you did your job. But all right, well, we did our job. We got through the show, but it's over, you guys. We got to get out of here. So until next week, we are the Geek Patrol, and I am Joe Thorderson.
I'm Ellen Gilbreth.
I'm Maximilian.
I'm Alyssa Diggs.
And I'm Brandon Olmstead reminding sometimes we do sacrifice our voices for you.